I was thankful that I had a vehicle that I could live in, I could get around. I remember my mom telling me, I don't know where to send your things. You started crying at the post office because I told them you're homeless.
Welcome back to Coming Clean. This is my first episode ever having a guest on with video. Hello, if you're watching on YouTube. This is Brittany. We're going to talk a little bit about where we started our friendship, which was a long time ago. I was thinking about this yesterday. I'm like, how long have we been friends for? And I've known you, like my first memories of you were at a dance in middle school, and I didn't know you. I just knew who you were because we went to 2 different schools. And there was like a circle of people around somebody, and I look in and it's you, and you're just going nuts, like dancing in a circle, and everyone's watching just you. I'm like, who is this girl? I want to be like her. And that was like 7th grade, so that was like 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I definitely remember you always saying that's your first memory of me.
Yeah. I just thought you had like this
Have
lack
no fear.
Yeah, you had a lack of inhibitions that were I admired, and I still do, because it's tough to not care what people think. We went through high school together. We were like on and off hanging out. We were in the same group of friends, and then after high school is when we got a lot closer, and we ended up moving in together. And we had a magical year of sharing an apartment and sharing lots of crazy, wild memories. I mean, we were in our early 20s, so we were wild.
We were wild. Yeah, we were.
And I think we learned a lot about each other and ourselves throughout that time. It was a huge catalyst. Like, when I look back on that time, if you've listened to my previous podcasts, you know that I kind of hit a breaking point, and a lot of that had to do with me going on The Bachelor and getting sent home, and then quitting a lot of drugs and letting go of a lot of destructive behavior. But that breaking point was when I was living with you.
Yeah.
So you saw all of it up close and personal. Like, you were there with me all the times I would cry, and you were there with me all the times that I was hungover, or that I was, just all the ups and downs.
You were there with me when I hated my job.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Just rip out my hair.
Which is exactly what is so cool about like that time that we lived together, because I got to see you really leading up to, and I think we helped each other a lot. I got to see you come to your breaking point of like, I don't want to live this way anymore. I don't want to live here anymore, and I need something new. Like, I want to break out. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what this whole conversation is going to be about, and I'm going to let it go where it wants to go. But Brittany used to live here in Rockford, Illinois, and now she lives the way that she looks like she lives. Yeah, she lives in Hawaii, and she lives on a farm, an organic farm in Hawaii, and she's made a lot of transitions and transformations from the point we lived together a few years ago to now, and that's what I wanted to talk about, because I think a lot of people can be inspired by her and her story, and knowing that you don't have to be ready to take the leap. And you also, once you take it, it's not always perfect. And living in Hawaii isn't always sunshine and rainbows, although your Instagram stories show a lot of sunshine and rainbows.
I must skip the rain because it's been about 5 months rain. Today feels a little bit like Hawaii. It's rainy and gloomy. A winter in Hawaii.
So that's kind of what the winter was like?
Winter is rain.
Okay.
Snow is here. I don't know what's worse.
I would take rain over snow.
I know, but you can't do anything. Everything's muddy, there's nowhere to go, so you're stuck.
True.
We don't have coffee shops or cars to get anywhere. It's tough.
Yeah, that is tough.
I mean, I can't complain that much, but after 5 months, it's
dreary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess neither one is perfect. That's why it's so interesting to talk to someone because it's so easy for myself included to look at like Instagram and scroll through and be like, oh my god, these people live in Hawaii and their life is so perfect and it's so beautiful every day.
Yeah.
And they, like you said, they don't show the rainy days emotionally.
Selfie sad face, it's raining.
Yeah. So you were working as a manager at Hollister.
Yep.
And every day when you came home from work, you had like an overflow of a bitch fest of how much you hated your life and how much you hated your job.
Yeah.
So we both knew that something needed to change. And in the beginning, it wasn't necessarily your job that was going to change, right? So Hollister actually took you out of Rockford, and they provided you the vehicle to get you out of here and into California. So why don't you talk about that a little bit? Like, how did that come about?
I feel like it all really started when you made me sit on the couch and watch The Secret. And I went to work the next day, and I was like, I'm gonna be positive. I can't live this way anymore. So then I kept getting borrowed to other stores, and I happened to meet a regional manager there, and she asked me what I wanted to do in the company, and I was like, I want to leave. I'll go anywhere. I just want to leave Illinois. I don't care where I go. I will go anywhere. And she's like, well, she actually happened to be an outlet district manager for California and Utah were the available stores available. She was district manager everywhere, regional manager. And so I tell her I want to go anywhere, and she's like, well, there's a store in California, but it's like an $8 million store. And I'm like, no, too much.
Because that means more work, right?
More
Busier.
just busy, slammed.
Right.
But then one day she was like, I'm going to get you to that store. You're going to California. And so
I remember you coming home and saying that too.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it was like a dream. Like, okay, yeah, cool, you're going to go work in California. And part of me thought, like, she's not going to do it because, like, it's scary. None of us are brave enough. And most of us aren't brave enough to do that. To go out on your own when you don't know anyone and like all you have is your job.
I was so set. I did not care.
Yeah.
I was like, I am going. They're going to pay for my car to get there, my flight, my hotel, this.
Yeah.
How can I not go? So I got there, and they told me I was going to Southern California. Well, I was in basically a city just like Rockford, but in California.
Right.
Living in an apartment.
Right.
And yeah, working at the store, and it was great at first, but then it just dwindled down to exactly where I started again. I hated it. I didn't want to go, and those feelings just came back. So pretty much I was trying to run from my job, thinking like, oh, if I go to California, everything will be great. Well, it wasn't. It went back down, and now I'm stuck in a contract for a year, and I can't get out. So now I gotta push through, and it was hard. The last 2 months of my job, I went on a medical leave and was diagnosed with depression and given pills that I think I took one of, and I flushed them down the toilet because I was too scared to take them.
And because we talked on the phone a lot, and I was like, Brittany,
don't take them.
I was just like, to think about it first.
But the whole journey itself really, I had this really terrible job. But I also, in that time of living in California, I lived there for a year and a half, got to be exposed to being involved with volunteering in Mexico, and I think that's really where my life changed. Actually, going to Mexico is what made me hate the job in California the most. Because I was like, what the hell am I doing?
It gave you a whole different
selling
perspective.
Clothes when people like don't even have a toilet to piss in, and I'm making these people trying to get them to buy as many clothes as they can with things that they don't need. And that just really was my game changer of my whole perspective on life. And I'm really thankful for that experience. I wouldn't even have experienced that. Like, thankful for Hollister and Abercrombie because they have gotten me literally where I got today. They had me go to California, and then I met a friend there who, you know, got me to Hawaii.
You know, it's funny because I have a question written down that I was going to ask you that I can ask you later on because you might have multiple answers to this, but I think a lot of us have situations in our life that we think are either failures or they're like our biggest obstacle, and we get so frustrated by them, yet sometimes they're actually the catalyst to our greatest transformation.
Yeah.
So Hollister, although I heard you bitch and complain about it every day of your life, it actually was the vehicle that got you out to California, which then ultimately got you to Hawaii, which is where you are today and who you are today.
Yeah, and I think it all came down to the job itself is not bad. The company is great, but the job wasn't for me. And I think I even knew that when I first started the job and I was like back in Peoria. I'd be like, oh, looking for a new job. Like I already just knew maybe it was like being locked in a mall and I wanted to be like outside. I wanted to see the light of day from morning to night.
Yeah.
It's like that just wasn't for me, and it made me go get stir crazy.
Yeah. So, so you're in California. You love that you're there because you made this leap.
Yeah.
And you then, you know, you get into your routine and you realize that you, wherever you go, there you are, right? So you didn't get to actually leave your life.
Yeah.
You just left.
I just moved to a sunnier place.
Right. And a lot of people think when they move locations that everything's going to be perfect and beautiful.
Yeah.
And you realize that it wasn't. So I remember talking to you, and it was pretty quickly, you know, after you got there, it didn't take long for you to be like, I need to get out of here. You know, this job, I need to find something else. So leaving out the minor details, like how did you, basically the next piece on your timeline that I think of is you living out of your car and not really knowing where you're going to go next, what you're going to do next, and then you were nannying. So you got out of Hollister and then you became a nanny, and you were kind of, were you traveling down the coast, or like what was the next chapter after you left Hollister?
Well, I left Hollister and then my apartment lease was up, who eventually I had a friend move in and split that cost, but I could not wrap my head around spending $12,000 on a place. I was like, well, I'll just go get a job.
$12,000.
And like an apartment rent to get another apartment.
Oh, like a year.
I mean, $1,200.
Okay.
$1,200. Oh God, $12,000. That'd be pretty.
Yeah,
I must be a millionaire. So I was just like, I'll sell everything or donate. I think I made like 5 to 8 trips with my car full of just clothes and plates and just all sorts of shit. And I got a little storage unit. I moved into that house, and then, because I was like, okay, I can't like live out of my car yet. I did it for a week and I was like, this is so terrible. So then I got it a place, and I only lasted there for 2 months because it was still $900, and I was like, no, what in the hell, I'm not doing this. So then I brought more stuff, put as much as I could in my car.
So you're basically downsizing so that
just throwing everything away. Like, I have more of this, I don't need this, I don't need this. I think I saved like a few things. There was like one of my grandma's nightstands, which I actually still have in California.
Wow. And
just like a few mugs that I liked, and like a lot of my clothes. I mean, it was like packed in the trunk because I had to sleep in the back seat. But I didn't drive the coast. Yeah. Seriously. I think it was like the lowest point of my life, but also the highest. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But I didn't drive the coast or anything. I just had been to Laguna Beach a lot. I knew it was safe. I could like sleep in the middle of the street and feel safe there. So I'd always sleep on this side road where like family, friends had lived, and I'd sleep there. And then I found a nanny job in Dana Point.
Okay, so close by.
One in Dana Point, one in Aliso Viejo. And the Dana Point family was like super awesome, and I just felt like I could tell them like, yeah, I live out of my car.
They're like, so crazy girl.
Yeah, we're gonna let her watch our kids. Okay. So they kind of took me in a little bit and opened their doors to me, and some friends opened their doors to me. But the hardest part of living out of the car was that if I didn't have to work that day, I had to go from morning to night. Like, you had to be doing something. Like, yeah, I could sit on the beach I mean, how long, I know this sounds crazy, how long can you really sit on the beach, you know? When you're like trying to figure out where you're gonna sleep that night, or like you need to get food, like you're just constantly going, like I could never like relax.
Right.
Because
you didn't have like a home base.
Yeah, I was at the library with homeless people all day long, but I got to meet a lot of them, you know, and kind of hear their stories. At some points, I felt homeless. Like, I remember my mom telling me, I don't know where to send your things. Like, you started crying at the post office because I told them you're homeless. It's like, okay, Mom, I still have a car. I mean, I don't know what it's like to be a mom, or to hear that, but it was kind of filled with gratitude, because at that point I was thankful that I had a vehicle that I could live in, I could get around, and I also had money. I mean, I wouldn't say I had a lot of money, obviously, but I had enough money to like get myself breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Right.
And I had friends
that
would take me in, and it just made me appreciate a roof over my head and simple things like a kitchen to wash my dishes in, or a tub to lay in. I mean, I had places to shower and things like that, but I remember thinking, it's gonna be so cool, like I'll just get a gym membership and I'll do this and this, and like, yeah, it was cool, but there were a lot of times where I was crying my eyes out. But I'm really thankful that, my mom she never was like, just come home. Just what are you doing? Don't do this. Just come home, because she knows me, and anyone that knows me, like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. And it doesn't matter how many times you tell me to come home, I'm not coming home. The whole point was like, I'm not leaving. Like, no way, I don't care what it takes. I'm not going home.
Even if I have to live out of my car.
Even if I have to live out of my car.
Right.
Which is like, God, and I didn't even barely write any all that good stuff down. Well, I did keep a journal. I think I had 90 days in my journal of every day. Day 1, day 2, day 3.
Wow.
And some days I was just like, how did I get here?
So I remember talking to you, like, basically I got little bits and pieces all along your journey, because when you were feeling like a certain like down point, you would call me and we would talk, right? And I was having my own weird situations too, because I was traveling in Colorado and then I was traveling in Arizona, and so I was learning from you. And I think honestly, like, there were times where I was feeling really down and like lost, and then you would call me and be like, I'm living out of my car and I don't even have a place to stay, I don't know where I'm going next, and my car is gonna break down and I'm gonna lose the thing, right?
Let's not forget that part.
So then I have to like help, like I had to rise up and try to put on like my coaching hat, or like my uplifting, hat, to be like strong for you. And then that helped me, because then I was like, okay, I've got to be strong. If she can do this, like I can live in an apartment in Arizona, you know? So that really helped me, and I'm grateful for that. But it also inspired me, because I had Dalton, I had my boyfriend to be there with me. You were by yourself. So I think that a lot of people are scared to do anything on their own, like even little things, like go out to dinner by themselves, even if it's in their hometown, or like go, do whatever alone, let alone live out of your car in a different state that you're not used to.
Yeah.
So I think people can learn a lot from just hearing you talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, that is where I learned so much about myself, like how strong I actually am, because I would sometimes like cry myself to sleep or laugh, because I was just confused at what I was doing, but I was also like, you're a badass, because you're not just, I'm like really sticking it out. And I would just always tell myself, like, it could always be worse. This could always be worse. You could not have a car. You could not have money to get yourself an Apple. Like, you are fine. You have a nanny job. I had a great nanny job. I loved both my nanny jobs. One of the families never knew I lived out of my car.
Right.
No, they're not gonna watch this. No, it's not a big deal. But yeah, in the midst of all that, my car was not some nice, reliable car. I had it for like 9 years, and I was also just grateful that my car would be running, and there were times where it broke down and I didn't even have $500 to get it fixed. And I was like, well, this is my home, so what am I gonna do?
Right.
And yeah, I had to call for help, and maybe sometimes that made me feel my lowest, because it's like, oh, I'm, however old I was, 26, 27, I have to call my parents.
Right.
Ask them if they can help me fix my car.
Yeah, the ego flares up. It's like, I can do this on my own. I don't need my parents.
But they were just really supportive, and
That's
I'm
great.
really thankful for that. But yeah, I just learned the most about myself, really getting through that. And I'm not saying go leave and live in your car on your own and travel the world. You know, I'm just saying, even if you take a trip by yourself, or my therapist used to tell me when I would see one, like, that she'd go on Friday or Saturday nights, the busiest night where everyone's going on dates, and take herself on a date and sit right in the middle of it. Don't sit in the corner, you know, don't sit at the bar. Like, get yourself a table and sit down. And I remember I did that once. This was even before I lived in my car. And I brought, like, all my writing things, and I, like, looked around. I shit you not, everyone was there with their significant other. And even the waitress was like, anyone else coming? No, just me. And I got myself all the entrees, appetizers, you know, entree, dessert, and that was, I mean, do we ever take ourselves out to dinner by ourselves? So that was kind of my first, like, eye-opening self, other than moving by myself, experience to, like, really put yourself out there and just, I don't know, it's a good feeling to be independent.
Yeah.
Do it sometimes.
What I hear you say, though, wrapped up in that, which is really beautiful, is that you were independent without like a lack of vulnerability. Like, you were independent, but you were also willing to let people take you in and let, you know, you didn't have an ego that said, I can't, you know, I can do this on my own, I don't need anybody to help me.
Yeah.
You had to be vulnerable and let people let you into their home or borrow money, you know, and a lot of us think that independence means that we have to be in solitude, or that we have to be, like, closed off to be connected to other people. And you actually felt the deepest connection, I think. Because it's so easy to, like, make your own money and do your own things, and, like, I don't need help. But if you can't lower yourself, you know, your walls to say, like, I can accept help, then you don't feel that true human connection that you got a chance to feel. Not only in your living in the car, but then you briefly talked about going to Mexico. So let's talk about that, because your experiences in Mexico really, really had me, like, I feel like I got to go there just by hearing you talk about it. And it's something that some people will never have a chance to experience, but at least hearing what it did for your perspective, I think is helpful, and that will be a good transition into why you then took the next opportunity, which was Hawaii.
Also, I just want to say, even if you have a significant other right now, that doesn't mean you can't still have your independence to take yourself on a date, or you don't even have to go to, like, Aruba on this vacation. You can go wherever you are. Like, for us, for in Illinois, like, just take a weekend and pitch a tent somewhere, or get yourself a hotel room, or grab an Airbnb and just sit with yourself. Because, I mean, and just write to yourself, or just enjoy that moment with yourself where you just get to embrace your independence, because it's so powerful, and it's not always smooth. I'll get back to that. I took myself on a solo trip in Hawaii and it did not go well, but it's so worth it. And I say that I'm not married or anything, but I feel like if you are, you know, in a relationship or you need this independence, like, that is so important to remember. If you're by yourself or whatever, like, I'm independent. You can still be independent, you know, when you're with someone, or even if you're living with a roommate. Just, I encourage everyone to take themselves, even on a little day rodeo, to collect that gratefulness of, damn, I'm cool, and I can do anything I want. Because we can all do anything we want if we really set our head to it, you know? Yeah. But Mexico, God, I remember my first trip there. I had never even been out of the country, and I had, like, just gotten a passport. I was like, ooh, it's gonna get stamped, but it never did. And I just had like the greatest experience. I saw.
So let's be clear. You were not going to Cancun on an all-inclusive.
No, I was not going to Cancun. I was going with a friend and a friend of his. They did a lot of mission work in Mexico, and I got asked to go, and I was like, yes. So I, worked through my work schedule and took this weekend trip. I think it was maybe just like a Friday to a Sunday to Mexico. We drove down San Diego through the border, and the church that they worked with had a little place where we could stay, kind of like summer camp, like little bunk beds. But we went, and they were working on building this project for, I can't think of the name right now, but this project for kids with disabilities. But we kind of stepped aside and we got to do this drive, and we went and saw another patient that I've been seeing. I mean, just sores everywhere, bed sores everywhere.
So you're basically visiting like complete poverty.
Third world country, like poverty. Mm-hmm. It was.
And most of them didn't speak English, so you had someone with you that could speak Spanish.
Yeah, so I couldn't speak. I just kind of stood there and smiled. How many of us have ever seen poverty? We see it where we're from at times and on TV, but to see it in front of your eyes, I think I cried. And I was also just so happy that I got to experience that. And so then from that point on, I went back to work with the kids. We did this one Christmas program once where all the families got to come and you got to hang out with all the kids. And I mean, you just walk into a crowd of those kids and they just run at you. All they want to see is people. I mean, they live a totally different life. They don't even know what this world is. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the mind-blowing part, but also the great part. They have their family, they have water to drink, they have food to eat, maybe they have clothes to wear, I mean, it's pretty hot there, so a lot of times they're just running around naked. And yeah, I remember, and then after I started kind of getting involved also with another trip, so it's just day trips, so I get on a bus, and I met my friend there. I met two girls on a bus, and they both spoke Spanish, and they happened to get involved with a couple of the owners of different orphanages. So then we got to take our own little trip, just the three of us, and drive to these orphanages and be just the three of us with 20 of these kids, and that was really magical too. It's just, I will always have a place in my heart for Mexico, and I miss it. I think about it a lot in Hawaii, and I'll go back. Mm-hmm. It's always going to be there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that changed my perspective on mostly, I think, what I need in my life and what's important. I think I used to care about, expensive things and whatever else, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, if you can get it, go for it, Mm-hmm. But that doesn't, I don't need that anymore. I think I was just more, I would go home and feel almost guilty, but not guilty. I mean, you can't feel guilty. That's the thing, you can't feel guilty when you come back to your, what so-called, what they would call lavish lifestyle. But yeah, you feel guilty that you can even flush a toilet, with toilet paper in it, or you have, a bed to sleep on. But it was just eye-opening for me, and I'm thankful for that whole experience, because it's given me more of a gracious heart and just allowed me to be more grateful for the things that I have, even if it's just a car with a blanket that I sleep in,
Yeah.
It's because Mexico was mostly before I lived in my car, so I think that is what really molded me to be able to take in that experience.
That makes so much sense.
I still would go to Mexico when I lived in my car, but my big experiences, my first experience in Mexico was way before I ever lived in my car. Mm-hmm. Probably if I went there before that, I would have lost my cool. I would not have been able, I wouldn't have survived.
So you think that the trips to Mexico gave you the perspective and the strength to be like,
yeah,
if they can do that, I can live out of my car.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's fine. Life could always be so much worse, especially when I was going there and then coming back to my car. You know, I was just like, okay, this is fine. They don't even know what a car. Some of them don't even know what a car is.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, that's kind of it. And I want to go back to Mexico, but now I just want to expose myself to all the other countries out there. It's not just Mexico. And there's places, you know, I think I need to be better. I was so focused on Mexico that maybe I can do things in my own country here, you know, because there's poverty here. But I also want to go to other places in the world. Because just seeing, yeah, like you said, we see it on TV, but to see it, like, right there, you're just like, holy crap.
Yeah.
You just want to hug everybody. And that's really all they are about. They just want to hug, they love, and they're happy. That's the thing, actually. They're actually happy.
Right.
Like, they don't know outside. Maybe if they came outside and came back in, but that's their comfort zone. Like, they are happy. And they live with, you know,
very little
things that they can carry in their hands. So
yeah, I think what you just said is like a really important piece of this entire conversation, and your life example is, and really the journey that I'm on as well, is to really understand what we need to be happy, and understand that it's so much less than we make it out to be.
Right.
And the more, it's almost like the more that you think you need other things to be happy, then you'll be forever on that chase, because it really is just a decision within yourself.
It's like, learn what you need to be happy, and then if you get all those other things,
great.
Shoot, that's just a great accessory you get to have. Yeah, but those things you don't need those things to make you happy. So figure out what you need to make you happy. I'm still figuring out. Shit, we're gonna be figuring out for the rest of our life.
Of course.
But try to figure out what you need to be happy, and then when you get all the other things, you know, if you like your expensive bags, girl, go get that bag. But don't let that be the factor that's gonna make you happy. That's just an extra bonus, you know. It's like if you want a nice car, if you want, you know, rings and all that stuff, I'm all for it. That shit is glorious. But, you know, remember that you just need a roof over your head, your family, your health, and geez, that you can walk, sing, dance, talk, run, twiddle your fingers, whatever. Those are the things that make us alive and make us happy. The others are just extra awesome bonuses that we get to have, and that's the glorious part of it. You know, we don't need them to get us happy. Yeah. But they do make us happy, of course.
Yeah, they're just temporary happiness. Yeah. So if it's in here, then you can play with all these things. It's like a video game. Yeah. It's like,
treat yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, but knowing that you could at any time let it all go, and you would still have this inner happiness. It's like the root of everything.
Yeah, figure out what fills your heart, you know? If it's your job, or maybe it is having all those, you know, shoes and stuff. Just, I guess, lay it out. I don't know.
Maybe it is the Louboutin.
I don't know. Figure it out. Like, what actually makes me happy. I used to have, like, like a obsession with figuring out what made people happy. So maybe someday I'll roll back to it. But
I remember talking about writing a book.
There's like all these happiness movies, and I was like, oh, I want to research that, like travel to all the countries and figure out what makes people happy. I mean, it's so different everywhere. Yeah. And actually working in Hawaii, some guy was doing a documentary like that, and he asked me, caught me off guard, so I could have said something so different.
Okay, so this is a great segue into this conversation.
Hawaii.
Yeah, Hawaii. This is the next
Maui
chapter. Yeah, because that's where you're at now, and I think that it holds so much that I can learn from you, because I'm not living in Hawaii. I've never been to Hawaii. But like talking about that idea of like what makes you happy, as long as we think that there's something outside of us that can make us happy, then we lose, because like we've talked about, you can move and still be unhappy. So basically, let's briefly talk about how and why you got to move to Hawaii, because there's lots of people out there that think that's their dream, whether it's Hawaii or Fiji or fill in the blank, Australia. Yeah. They have this idea of their perfect dream life, and that if they got there, they would then be happy.
Right.
And obviously we know it's a lot more complicated and complex than that, but just talk to us a little bit about how you got the opportunity to move to Hawaii, and now you've been there for over a year.
Yep.
Over a year.
Wow, crazy.
So
Time
yeah,
flies.
let's dive into that, because I remember I got a phone call. I was in Arizona. I was sitting in my bedroom in Arizona.
I'm like weighing my options.
I get a phone call from you. You're living in California. You're a nanny, and you're like, so I have this opportunity to go live on an organic farm in Hawaii, and I don't know if I should take it. And I was like, hello, like, this is the next step.
Did you just hear yourself?
Yeah, like, it just seems so obvious to me, because you were already free flowing into all the things people are afraid of, and you were just trying to discover yourself and discover the world, and so that was like just the obvious next step.
Yeah. So Mexico actually led me to Hawaii because I had met the two girls that I mentioned on the bus, and one of them had done a work trade. So what I do is a work trade. So I work in trade of receiving my food and shelter, basic necessities, you know, water.
That's what
trade.
you do in Hawaii.
In Hawaii, yeah. So she, when I was looking for a new job, kind of before I got the nanny job actually, she was like, just go work on Maui on a farm. And I was like, oh, yeah, I should. So I applied and I applied and I applied and I applied, like on Kauai, on Maui, all these places, and then I got the nanny job, and then I got the offer, and I kind of declined it because I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to be responsible for once in my life. I don't even have money to get a ticket there. And so I declined it. I said, if there's any more offers, get back to me. And one night I was with my friend Erin, and her neighbor worked on Maui. He's like, never pass up an opportunity to go to Maui. And the next day, I got an email, and they were like, we have another spot. It's open. You're welcome to come. And I was like, oh, I have to go this time. I have to do it. That's, I think, when I called you, because I was still like, oh, do I quit my job? Like, really, Brittany, you just got this job.
Yeah.
Finally get a job you like, and now you're going to leave it. That's how it works.
Yeah.
So I told the nanny. It was really sad because the kids were awesome. And put all my things at the other family that I was really close with in California, and booked my one-way ticket. And I actually already a start that things don't go perfect on your next adventure because I arrived at the airport the day I was supposed to leave, and I arrived too late to check in. So I couldn't get on the plane, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I have built up in my head like these nerves and just wondering what it's gonna be like, and couldn't believe I was going. So whatever, I had to wait an extra day.
Which, by the way, don't you think we can look at, whether it's true or not, we can look at everything that's happening in our lives as like this story that's unfolding from the universe, filled with lessons for us to be learning.
Like, don't go out and drink the night before a plane.
Like, whether it's don't go out and drink the night before, or like this idea of like, don't avoid what you're afraid of, like take it head on. Or maybe because you were afraid, the universe was like, you get another day to sit and be nervous and afraid and doubt yourself.
And like sit in anticipation.
Yeah, just to get stronger.
Yeah, it was, so I remember getting on the plane and just being like, holy shit. Like,
I have a one-way ticket.
I think I looked up the farm itself. So I'm trying to figure out this scenario here. I was going to Hana Farms, and it is on the east side of the island. So the west side is pretty tourist. It's more, gift shops and restaurants and Walmart and Target and all that kind of stuff. But the east side of the island, you take this windy, curvy road that at some points there's only one lane. It's 52 miles all the way to where I was getting dropped off. It's very like jungle, like lots of trees. We have a small town in Hana with like we have two general stores, a gas station, a restaurant, and like.
So you're like kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, pretty much in the middle of nowhere. No service the whole way on that whole road, or anywhere really, except for maybe a little bit in town. So that's where I was getting to, and I never even really researched the road. I remember my friend Jordan being like, "Do you know what the road looks like to get there?" And I was like, "No." I was just making sure I wasn't going into like some freak show.
Yeah.
So just like looking on Instagram and trying to find pictures and Googling it, and I don't know, I had good intentions. I feel like most of the time my intuition is pretty spot on. So I get off the plane, and I talked to the owner, and he said you can either take the small plane, there's a little plane from Kahului, the main airport, to Hana, or you can just hitchhike. A lot of people hitchhike. It's fine. So I was like, I'm definitely hitchhiking. Like if I'm gonna do this thing, I'm getting the whole experience. Which again, I'm pretty sure I had my mom crying the whole day. Which I'm sorry, Mom, but
yeah, I can't imagine.
I'm really good about communicating that everything's cool. Yeah, I think everyone was worried about me. So I get off the plane. I get a taxi. My first interaction with someone there, she's mad. Like the taxi driver was not nice to me. She was mad because she only had to drive me a mile and she's trying to make money and drive far. So she was like, really? I'm driving a mile? Like, so angry. And I was like, I can get out. Like, I'll just walk then, if you don't want my money. So I get dropped off at the corner, and a guy pulls over and he's like, you're not really in the best spot to hitchhike. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh my god,
I have like one black suitcase, like kind of a big one, because I brought a big suitcase because I wanted to be able to put my tent in there, because I had to bring a tent. I was about to live in a tent. And a pillow and a blanket. So I just wanted to bring the biggest thing so I wasn't like carrying all these things. And then I just had a backpack with like my journals and books and stuff. So he was like, where are you going? I'll give you a ride. So I get in that, and I was like, I am not getting in the car with anybody. Like, I am only gonna ride in the bed of the truck. Well, I got in the car. I was like, well, I guess if I can just open the door, if he's weird, I'll just jump out.
Yeah, that'll work.
Like, I don't know, forget about my things. Thankfully, everyone was super great. I didn't have any bad experiences. But so I get my first hitchhike ride 6 rides later. 6 rides.
You rode
it was either 5 or 6.
So how long is this?
So it took me 6 hours to get there. Yeah. Oh, but I was definitely like, had like a weird, not really smile on my face, and I was just like kind of sticking my thumb out, because I was like, what in the hell am I doing?
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, the last stop, there's this little YMCA on the side of the highway, and the second to last car dropped me off here. He's like, well, if you don't, it was getting like dark. I needed to get there before dark, because obviously then no one would see me. He's like, if no one picks you up, this is the YMCA, like, this woman lives here, she's really nice, you can just camp here if no one picks you up. It's, by the way, downpouring. My phone is dying. It's like actually at like 5% or something. And then someone scoops me up and decides he'll drive me the whole way.
Which is how much longer?
Which was actually pretty far. Like another 15, 20 miles.
So how do you feel with this last person? Like,
he was so great. We talked about, like, I told him about Mexico and all these things and what I want to do, and he was like, I knew I was picking up someone worthwhile.
That's good.
And he worked at a farm, like, just on the street, so he wasn't really driving too far out of his way.
And like you said before, like, one, this can be very dangerous, right? Like, you
I wouldn't recommend it to do it everywhere, but I had obviously done a lot of research. It's very, very common on the island. Some spots are worse than others.
Yeah.
But I guess I was risking my life.
No, you for sure were. You for sure were. Whenever you get in the car, I mean, but here's the thing. So that sounds weird to us, hitchhiking.
Yeah.
Uber is literally that. I mean, there's no way.
Yeah.
Like you
don't know. I mean, yeah, they do a background check, but one day they might wake up
background check. Exactly. So it's not really that crazy, but when you say I hitchhiked, it sounds really crazy because there's not an app involved. You're just sticking.
Yeah, you're just standing on the side of the road.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend to do that anywhere.
This is gonna die. I gotta plug it in, so let's take a bathroom break.
Okay, cool.
And then we'll kind of map out how we're gonna finish up because we have 40 minutes left in this room. But we'll try to keep this podcast around an hour, maybe a little over an hour.
Okay.
So we'll go for another 20-ish.
I arrived at the farm, and it's a 7-acre property. We grow vegetables. We have different jobs, so we bake banana bread, we bake products, we have a stand that we have to run, people do land work. And I got a little tour of everything. I set up my tent. So I first lived on a wooden platform with a tarp roof and just my tent.
Right.
And then a few days later, I got a little upgrade to like a dorm room, so it's like 3 rooms under one roof. And right now I've done all the jobs. I've done the products, I've done the banana bread baking, I've done land work, but now my primary job is working the stand. So I basically wake up, I usually don't work till 1:30, I usually do the closing shift. So I have my whole morning to kind of do whatever. It's taken me about almost a year to actually try to find some kind of routine. But in this little dorm room, I met my boyfriend there, and we shared that little dorm room.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's basically like a bedroom.
So you have a boyfriend now.
I have a boyfriend now.
That lives on the farm with you.
Lives on the farm. We met on the farm. He's from Nebraska. He's not Hawaiian.
Right.
He's from the Midwest.
Yeah.
And we met, so a year later we're still together. And yeah, we didn't really have much of a morning routine. We were just living in this tiny little room because we were building a new site. So he had his own platform to start with, and we built a cabin there.
Yeah, basically for those of you who are into this, a tiny home.
Yeah, pretty much a tiny home. So fast forward to now, like we're living in this little tiny home, and now I'm trying to learn I remember listening to your morning routine podcast, and I was like, okay, I can make my bed every day. I can do a morning page every day.
Right.
So
really
that's really my two things right now. I try to get stretching in there. And sometimes it's absurd because I'm like, I only work 25 hours a week. So I work 25 hours a week. I get food, I get my shelter. We don't pay rent, we don't pay electricity, we don't pay bills. Like, we work basically for free. And thankfully at the stand I get to make some tips. So that's kind of how I've collected a little extra money into a savings. And I'm trying to create a team. But yeah, I live in Hawaii. I live in paradise, as people would say. And I live in this tiny home, and I'm outside, and I'm surrounded by palm trees and flowers and blah, blah. But I still wake up, and I still have bad days. So I hate that, because I remember I was talking to a friend, and she's like, we don't know if you're ever feeling bad. Like, is this life real? Because, yeah, we only have media to look at. And, of course, my life looks perfect. But I still wake up, and I still have bad days. No matter where you go, you can move to Bora Bora, you can move to Australia, you can move to Alaska, you can move to California, you can just move to the next town. Everything will go with you, because it's just life. Where for the rest of our lives, even if we're in the happiest of our life, we're always going to have bad days. And that's just what we need to face. We just have to learn to control them. So that still happens to me. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. So we can run from our problems, which I think I've always done. I ran to California, I ran to Hawaii, so I'm like, oh, okay, I had like a rough page there, so I'm going to go to the next place, I'll be happier. And I still had bad days, and I learned that real quick. Within like 2 weeks of my stay, I was calm, I'm crying, what am I doing, whatever. Again, she didn't tell me to come home, so I'm thankful for that, but it still catches up, and I think that's like the most important lesson that I have learned through my wild adventures, is that life is still always there. And yeah, I can say right now I am in the happiest place of my life right now that I have ever been, even with the bad days. It's just, I can control them, and I can talk to myself being like, Brittany, seriously, chill out, you're being ridiculous. Like, breathe, it's just silly stuff. But we're always going to find something to complain about, or whatever, things that don't feel right. But I live in a community, so there's about 18 of us right now. We all live under pretty much, this one land of farm. We're all on 7 acres. We eat, we sleep, we breathe, poop, shower, everything under the same place. And when you live in, civilization, you live in a little home or whatever your situation is, and you don't see people all the time.
Right.
So that sometimes can be hard, but it's also amazing that I can walk down the yard and hang out with friends. So it has its pluses and its minuses. I mean, same with my boyfriend and I. Pretty much when we got together, we were already living together, like that day.
The day you met
Literally
your boyfriend.
the day we met, we're living together. So I'm not sure if that's a real kind of relationship that we have over here on the mainland. But
it shows you your
But
true
yeah,
self.
we have we don't fight. Yeah, of course we have arguments, but we sit down, we have conversations, and we have grown together. Like, he's, we're kind of the opposite of each other, but we keep each other grounded, and we complement each other, and so that has been an extreme beautiful part of my chapter. So I haven't done much of this journey alone. Like, we met probably 2 weeks after being there, and we weren't really serious for the first 3 months. It was kind of just figuring it all out. But now, yeah, we're to that point. So I've had a partner to do this journey with, just like we kind of said about independence. Like, every time we get in a relationship, we're like, oh my God, everything for this person, but trying to still remember my independence.
If you're watching on YouTube, you are about to hear the rest of the podcast with a picture instead of video, and I'm super pissed about it. But you still get to hear the rest of the audio, which is the important part. You can just close your eyes and hear our voices. Oh, so
glorious. That's funny.
Yeah, hilarious.
Speaking of doing things alone, I once was like, okay, I'm turning 28, I am going to take a solo adventure. So I hopped on the little plane, flew to Kahului, rented a car. I was like, I'm just going to camp by myself. I've never camped by myself. I pulled in like 3 different locations. There were just gentlemen there that just, I don't know, gave me all the feels. I'm crying. I'm on the other side. I've never
like
even
bad
been.
Feels?
Yeah, just kind of creepy, like drunk. Like, I was kind of pulling on the beaches, like right off the highway. Mm-hmm. And I'd never been on the west side of the island before. So
right.
I literally didn't know what I was doing. And then I remember I ended up just getting a hotel room. And I slept in air conditioning. It was awesome. And yeah, as adventures alone don't always go smooth. I remember calling my boyfriend Nathan and just being like, I don't know what to do. I have nowhere to sleep. What was I thinking? Mm-hmm. But it still turned out to be amazing. So just adventures in general. Like, I'm in Hawaii, I'm in paradise, and I go to the other side and I'm freaking out because I don't know where to camp.
And not to mention, what I think is interesting about that is like, something I think about a lot is our need as humans to have a balance between comfort and security, and then adventure and freedom. So even though you got to your farm in Hawaii and that was scary at first, you got comfortable there. So then you're like, I need a new adventure.
Yeah.
This isn't enough.
I just ran after it by myself.
Which is just still finding, and then you had to find order even in that adventure, because you're like, this is too much, right? We have like this threshold of how much chaos and how much adventure we can actually handle. Yeah. So you were like, okay, I gotta go on this adventure. You did. You went to the other side of the island by yourself, and then that was like not feeling like it was too much. So then you're like, let's retract a little bit and let's go into a hotel.
Right, and even then I couldn't even sleep in my car after I had lived out of my car. I was like, I am not sleeping in my car. It was just an experiment. So that just shows, planning yourself a trip, but it might not go the way you expect. And I have learned more about myself again. I pretty much live off the grid. So we live off of an extension cord. We do have Wi-Fi, but it only reaches certain areas. And we share a kitchen. There's spiders everywhere. There's tons of cats, which I've never been a cat person. Now I all of a sudden am obsessed. They get rats. I've woke up and stepped on rat guts before. I think there's been a cockroach on my bug net once.
Yeah.
And I just don't care about it anymore. It's like my clothes get moldy, everything smells because we're in open air 24/7. But I squat outside. That's probably the best part. It's like, I get to squat outside. Even when I'm here, I'm like, no, Brittany, go to the bathroom.
Just out in front of the public library. What is this guy doing? What, we can't pee anywhere? There's grass.
We do have a toilet, but like in the middle of the night, I'm not walking down the driveway around the corner to the toilet. I'm just gonna squat. Wow. But we get outdoor showers and we're in nature all the time, and I'm with really like-minded people where everyone's trying to give themselves their own growth, and being surrounded by that is really awesome. But again, another hard thing is being 6,000 miles or however many miles away I am from everyone that I've known my whole life. So that can be hard too.
Which, again, that's a perfect transition into, like, you're not going to be in Hawaii forever. So you've been there for over a year, but now the next thing is coming. And we always seek that growth. It's the essence of our life, is like, what's next? So what's next for you?
Yeah, it's hard to leave something more comfortable. I think about leaving and I'm like, oh my God, I'm just getting comfortable. Like, what is it going to be like?
That's perfect. That little sweet spot.
Yeah, I'm like, God. Because we never want to leave anything we're comfortable with. I mean, why? But now so Nathan, my boyfriend, is from Nebraska. He has family land there. So they have a house on 2 acres, and then there's 18 acres next door. And he came to Hawaii. His plan was to come for 2 years. So September, he's been there for 2 years. And his plan is to go back to Nebraska and to start a small-scale farm. So growing vegetables for start. Maybe someday we'll have fruit trees, but that's a whole project in itself. And do CSA boxes, so local produce boxes for the community. He lives in a small little town about 2 hours from Omaha. Honestly, I'm not sure which direction because it's not my best subject.
It's all right. We get it.
And so that's the plan, to go there, and I am going with. So here I am going from Hawaii to Nebraska, and I swear, I work at a stand there, so I talk to tourists every day, all day, and they're like, what are you doing here? You know, what's your next adventure? And their jaw drops when I say I'm moving to Nebraska. And yeah, it's definitely going to be different. I'm like 1 mile from the ocean. I am outside whenever I want. The ocean has like been now my life for the last 3 years between California and Hawaii. But I'm also 6,000 miles away from family and friends. People are getting married. People are having babies. My siblings are getting older. Like, I have done my adventure. So I kind of need to window back into being closer to home. So we're going to start this farm. We hopefully want to have like wood-fired pizzas, and just mainly the whole goal of our farm, which all of my adventure and what I've learned has come together, is just to get the community together and to kind of get everyone on the same page. I'm hoping someday that I can do like yoga on the lawn, and we'll go to like the football games and, have all this food and really introduce people to this food that grows from the ground that actually tastes good. Why does it taste good? Well, because we grew it. We don't want to throw out like organic produce, because people think organic and they're like expensive. Like, it's for those kind of people, So we just want to give them good food.
That's approachable.
It's, what's the word? Affordable. And yeah, and just kind of do that whole thing. He doesn't want to do a work trade like what we did, but he wants to bring in high schoolers who can do it, so then they can learn.
That's so cool.
And maybe do the same thing when they get older. So that's our plan right now. We don't have any set dates. We don't have a name for the farm, but if you're ever in Central City, Nebraska, you can look me up and message me. Our doors will always be open. We'll
do another podcast too.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do another podcast, because then I'll be in civilization. It's going to be a whole transformation. So I am taking another plunge, and I am so nervous. I'm so excited. I'm anxious. I feel sad and happy and all the emotional feels at the same time. Yeah. But to this point, I have learned and grown more than I could have ever imagined. So, and there's only more. Like this, yeah, I'm moving to Nebraska, but I've never been to Nebraska, and we're going to start a farm. And it's going to be a whole nother adventure in itself. We'll only be seasonal, so on the plus side, we will get to travel during these brutal winter months that we have here in the Midwest. I'll probably enjoy it this year, but try. Yeah. And then, get to see other things. And so it's any adventure that we take is really what we make of it.
Mm-hmm. The growth is never, ever over.
Never ends. Mm-hmm. It's like 5 years from now, I'll probably be like, oh God, remember when you were 28? It's like, so that's also the exciting part. We're always growing, we're always learning, as long as our minds and our doors are open to it. Yep. You gotta keep them open.
Yep. So true. Mm-hmm. So true. I love it. First thing I want to say before we wrap this up with a couple of questions, I want to acknowledge you for, it makes me want to cry, because like watching you grow from the person that I saw and that I felt when we lived together, you have completely transformed. And it just, to me, it's so inspiring, because I've never got to watch that so closely before. And I feel like we did it together. Yeah, we were thousands of miles away, but we were growing together. And I just am so, so proud of you. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so inspired by you. So
I say the same to you. I'd always call Kylie, like, just call Kylie. Just call Kylie.
And that helped me just as much as that helped you.
Yeah, I feel like our conversations, we always could, like, bounce back, and then we're both like, oh, yeah, okay.
We just
gotta
gotta
breathe.
Yeah.
Because we've always, like, yeah, we got to live together, so we really got in sync. And
yeah.
That's why we've made it still here.
Yeah. And just reminding ourselves, like, oh, like, you're gonna feel like shit, and it's gonna be hard, but, like, that's the whole point.
Yeah, because if things were easy, what fun would that be? What would we even learn?
Yeah. Gotta keep growing.
Life ain't easy, guys.
No.
And everyone has it in different, some people have it much harder than others, and we just have, you know, I'm just grateful for, it hasn't been overly hard, you know. Mm-hmm. I have experienced, like, being in Hawaii, and I had, you know, a death in the family and things like that. Like, yeah, everything in life is hard, and things are so unexpected, but, you know, it just happens, and
your power is,
you make a move, and you have power. You know, I can still come home, I can still get a ticket, like, I'll get there. Mm-hmm. You know, we can't let, I know some friends or people in general are just always hard, like, how do I leave my family, or how do I leave that? Like, yes, I could. If I stayed here for my family, I wouldn't be learning anything for myself, and I wouldn't be able to teach my younger siblings anything, because I'd be resentful of my own life. And now they get to watch me be on all these adventures and do these things, and I can try to inspire them. Mm-hmm. And now that I love myself and who I am, I will support them in whatever journey that they take, or even people around me. Also, you learn to just love everyone. You can't even hate when you love yourself, and when you're grateful of your life, good and bad. Mm-hmm. You just, I don't know, try to bring good energy to the universe and to everyone around you. Yeah. The best you can. Some days you fall. Mm-hmm. It's just that.
Yeah. That's so beautiful, and it was what I was going to ask you next, basically, like, not only advice to anyone out there that's like, oh, I want to make a difference, or I want to make a change, or I want to make a jump. It doesn't have to be moving, but, like, to live an authentic life mm-hmm. is so scary for us, because we have all of the safety and comfort and, like, the rules that we try to follow. But what you just said, I think, is the most important and the most inspiring piece of knowledge to carry with you, and that is, like, if you truly want to make a difference in the people's lives that you love, like your siblings, your children, your parents, if you truly want to give back, your only shot at doing that is to live your most authentic life, like you're doing, like I'm doing, and to show what it's like to do that. Live as an example mm-hmm. and fill your own cup so you can overflow into the lives of others. You can actually have something to give.
Absolutely.
Like, this is what I've learned. This is who I am. Yeah. It's not perfect. It's not easy, but I'm trying. Mm-hmm. And I'm doing what feels good for me.
And I think the biggest piece of advice is you just have to take the risk. Everything is a risk. It's a risk for me to go to Nebraska. What if my boyfriend and I didn't work out? It's a risk for me to go to Hawaii. What if I hated the farm? It's a risk for me to go to California. What if I didn't like the job, or this or that? You know, everything is a risk, and you either take it or you don't. And it's okay if you don't. It's hard to take the risk. That was just, you know, that's my mentality. But if you can, just try it. And if you don't like it, then you come back. It's fine. It's not that you're a fail. No, there's no. What is failure? There's no failing. You mess up, you try it again. You have to learn. It's like being in a bad relationship. Yeah, it was shitty, but now my next one's going to be good. Like, we all have to have these bad, gnarly, rough experiences to figure out what the hell we like, you know, what we want. So I just say, taking advice. This gal that she's kind of looked up to me and mentioned that, and she came over last night, and it's, you know, she's trying to figure out what she wants to do. She always goes back to traveling and meeting new people. It's like, then do it. Forget everything, you know? Like, maybe I didn't do it so responsibly. I just, like, stopped paying my bills, basically, and sold all my things and said whatever. But, like, I'm here now, and there's some things that are just out of our control, like school loans. But
true.
like, we'll make it work. We'll figure it out. But you have to do it. You just have to do it. You have to talk yourself through it. You have to tell yourself you're going to do it. You have to book that ticket. And once it's booked, just get on the plane and just go. Because, yeah, literally the worst thing that can happen is you come back home. And you can still say, yeah, I tried to do that. It's not for me. But you'll never know if leaving your hometown or finding that new job or taking that road trip by yourself is for you unless you actually try it.
Mm-hmm. Word, sister.
Word.
Oh my goodness.
Word on the block.
It's so true, though. It's so true.
Yeah.
It's just literally
easier said than done. Yes.
Totally.
Absolutely.
But
just try. Like, just, I don't know how to get you to try it. I'll book the plane ticket for you.
Yeah.
Just call me.
You're never gonna feel ready. You have to make yourself.
And maybe like you have found your own life here. I mean, I'm not saying you need to leave. Maybe
this can be applied to anything.
It can be applied to anything. If
it's
you're
having a difficult conversation.
Being a mom, like everyone has their own thing of what's meant for them. If you're meant to be a mom, if you're meant to travel, if you're meant to do this or that, we're never ready for anything. We're never ready to be a mom. We're never ready to get on that plane. We're never ready to go to school. We're never ready to
start a business, like a small business, start a podcast, write a blog, like write a book, whatever it is, like that thing that you're feeling inside that you're like, I really want to do this, but then there's fear. You have to just do the thing. There's always going to be the fear. So this can be applied to everything.
Totally. It's like, I feel like a lot of people are like, well, I have kids now and I can't just leave. But maybe you have kids and maybe instead you reached out a goal and now you're a Pilates instructor, or you found a job that you really like. Because, sometimes we have kids or we get married and we need to stay in this, whatever location that
maybe
you're in.
You want to stay.
Yeah.
Like, whatever
stay.
It is.
But you'll find that little niche of something that you like, like you said, maybe you're afraid to start a blog, Maybe you're afraid to start even journaling on your own, start a journal. Anything that we're afraid to do, just try it. Mm-hmm. And there's no punishment of trying. You'll just learn.
Yeah.
And then you'll be your best self.
Yep, exactly.
Goal here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Best self drop. It's like, it's always coming in waves.
It is waves.
Some days I'm happy all the time, and some days I'm like, I just want to cry today, and I can't figure it out.
And it being accepting of that and like being unattached to it and knowing that it's going to come, like even as a female, like our cycles, the fact that we have hormonal cycles that come every month, it's almost like for a while before I brought awareness to this, I was like surprised. I'm like, why am I so cranky? Why am I crying for no reason? It's like, duh, like you have hormones that make you feel a certain way and they come every month. Why don't you make friends with that? Why don't you learn about that? Why don't you
I love you when you make me cry.
Yeah, like why don't you just flow with it?
Yeah.
Easier said than done, but like knowing that comes all the time, it's like, ooh, like everything feels great, it's flowing, then there comes a time where it's like nothing's working out, like, and don't resist that, because the more we resist those things, the harder they become. And
just to like reiterate, like, we don't have to be our best. Like, my story, my journey is absolutely not for everyone. So it's more so like figure out what your story is and make it be like your happiest life. Whatever your situation is, find the happy in it. I'm not saying you need to go travel to be happy, It's just finding what you have right in front of you, family, friends, a home, whatever, what's be happy with it there and make that your authentic life, whatever it is right now. If you step out of your comfort zone, but you know what I'm saying, like some people are just homebodies and that's the way it is.
Yeah, the art of fulfillment, as Tony Robbins would
not
say.
Everyone's life will
it's different for everybody, but it's all about finding that balance between having full acceptance and gratitude for where you're at right now, while also finding ways to grow, because we have to grow to feel like we're moving and we're becoming, but that looks different for everybody. Yeah, so different.
Very.
Yeah.
But that's the beautiful thing. If we were all the same, how fun would that be?
Yeah. All right, so to finish up, I'm going to ask you one last question. And then we'll but then you can tell everybody where they can find you and keep an eye out for what you're going to be putting out soon. So, last question. What are you coming clean of right now? Because like we said, growth is endless. We're never there. There's no destination. So what one thing, habit, thought pattern, whatever, what are you coming clean of? What are you in the process of coming clean of?
This is a hard question.
Yeah.
I maybe would say I did mention insecurities. I think we're always a little, I am always a little bit insecure at times because I think certain temptations. So, I live on this communal farm, or the media. Sometimes we use it as a bad tool. So I think just constantly being more secure with myself. Like, I love who I am. I am this. And even on those bad days, working through that. Because we're always going to have insecurities. I think a little bit.
Yeah.
To some extent. I keep saying we. I'm speaking for myself. I may always have them, but I am trying to get rid of that. And I am also coming clean, I think, of talking myself out of working out, trying to motivate myself a little more.
Yeah.
It's like I live this island life, and I'm like, I don't have to do anything. Maybe like negative self-talk a little bit. But for I guess, I don't know, that's a really hard one.
That's enough. I mean, that there is something I can relate to.
I think just constantly making sure when I have these insecure moments that I am talking to myself like, no, forget that. Because we always have like that bad voice in our head, and then the good one's like, no, stop. So
just like that.
Seriously. So I think just, making sure that, I'm being secure with myself and not worrying about what my body looks like, and just making sure I'm keeping myself healthy as best as I can.
Mm-hmm. Being kinder to yourself. Being
confident.
Build yourself up instead of tearing yourself down. Being
confident in my relationship and with myself. And
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, I'll link everything in the show notes to find your website. I know you're starting to dabble into videos. Mm-hmm. I'm encouraging you to do more and more and more of that all the time. Maybe a podcast in the future. Who knows? Maybe a book. But for now, where can people find you? What's the best place for someone to find your life?
Let's see. I like Instagram a lot.
Yeah, so, probably Instagram.
Brittany Lozdoski is my Instagram.
I'll put it up on the screen if you're watching.
Don't try to spell the name. And I do have a website called Vibin' with Brittany. It's slowly but surely. For some reason, I'm just having a hard time of putting these videos together and really editing it. But I do have a few videos I have taken. I just need to piece them together. Actually, I have 3 that I need to work on.
Well, get them out. We want to see them.
So I'm working on that. There's a few up there right now. And it's been really fun to do that. That was I stepped out of my comfort zone to make a video, and I was talking to a camera, and I'm like, what in the hell? This is weird. Even though I could, obviously, you guys have heard me talk for the last hour. I could talk forever, but
it's so much easier when you have a conversation flowing rather than just being like, hey, what's up, camera?
Yeah, stay tuned to the website. It's on a YouTube page I had to create, and Facebook, just Brittany Lozdoski. That's kind of where I post the videos. For my website the most, and
cool.
Hit me up.
Cool. I'll put it all in
the reach out. Reach out if you need something. I'm always willing to chit chat.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and
thank you.
Yeah,
filled with all the aloha.
Yeah,
all the love.
If you guys have questions for Brittany, if this is something you're interested in doing, like her lifestyle in Hawaii that she's going to be transitioning out of, if you feel like that calls to you, message me, message her. Maybe you can find out more information if that feels like it's really calling to you. Aside from that, thank you so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Share it with someone who you think could benefit from it and benefit from our conversation and benefit from her beautiful, positive vibes. And I hope this inspires you to take whatever step it is that you're avoiding, that you feel called to do, but you're just afraid, and know that you'll never be ready. And she's a perfect example of that. Your life is a perfect example of that. So thank you for showing it to me. Thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming home and so we could meet up and do this.
I know. It's good to be home.
Yeah.
It's always refreshing.
Yeah. Until next time.
Until next time.
Because I love you. I'm so glad we got to do this.
Oh,
Peace.
yeah.